This is going to be the video for week 2 of our activities. We can start out at, so for 1, solving for D, right? So this is like what we said in class. What you want to do is the opposite of the operation that's happening upon the variable, right? So D is getting divided by F. To get D by itself, let's multiply by F on both sides. Crosses out the F on the left. Then we have J times F. Like I said in class, you can also have written it like this. With multiplication, you can have them switch order. For number 2, solve the following equation for B, right? So B is getting multiplied by 1/5, so let's multiply by its reciprocal, right? Because it's a fraction. So reciprocal of 1/5 is 5, or 5/1, whichever makes sense. And we can multiply this over here by 5. These are the same things, right? 5/1 and 5. This cancels out the fraction, right? So then we have B and D plus F times 5. You could also write it like this. This is also an option if you wanted to distribute that 5, but those are also the same thing because it's with multiplication. Number 3 was our word problem. So we have the taxi company charged a pickup fee of $2.30 plus a 50 cents per mile. So now we know, right, per is going to be our times our variable, which is M down here. And then they have a total fare of $13.80. So if you can think about it, like in class, we talked about how we have in our equations our B, or mx plus b. So B would be our pickup fee, right? This is B. And our M, well, this case, mx. But in terms, this is now M, and this is now 50 cents. So we have 50 cents times M plus our $2.30 equals, and instead of Y, we have our total, which is the $13.80. Right, so that's how we kind of set up our problem. And then we want to solve for M, right? We want to figure out how many miles they can ride. So by doing that, we subtract 230 from both sides. We're left with 0.5 times M, and then we're left with 1150. And then when you divide by 0.5 from both sides, that's where you get M equals 23. Or 23 miles, whichever way makes more sense to you. Number 4, again, it's wanting us to set up the problem and then solve that problem. So with this problem, they have $227 to spend. The parking's $8, just one cost, right? But then we have a per person cost of $18.25. So we know our $18.25 is going to be multiplied by our variable. For here, they want you to use P. Our initial cost, or B, right? That's a bad P, I apologize. And our cost, or our limit, or our total, whichever works, is 227. That B is the $8, right? So we can make this $8. So then, minus 8 from both sides. We're left with 219. Yeah, 219 equals 1825 times P. We're going to divide by 1825. And that is where you should get 12. All right, so number 5. Again, we're trying to get down to that one variable. So we want to do the opposite of what is happening upon that variable. So right now, this is being subtracted by m. Let's add m to both sides. That leaves us with 9 plus m equals g times b. Now, g is being multiplied to b, so let's divide g to get b by itself. Then you're left with b equals 9 plus m over g. And that's where you can leave it. All right, number 6. Basically, they're wanting you to take this equation, d equals m over v, or the density equals mass over volume. And they want you to solve for m. So that means we're trying to get m by itself. So we see that m is being divided by v, so let's multiply by v to get m alone. See, that way this crosses out. We have m equals vd, or dv equals m. Again, you can have these in whatever direction you please. So yeah. All right, number 7. This one has a lot of stuff happening to D. So key thing here is we kind of see this is all attached to D, so we'll move on that. Let's get rid of everything else first. Right now you're subtracting h, so let's add h to both sides. That leaves us 1/5 times t times d equals f plus h. Now the next step, you can really pretty much divide or multiply anything you want here. You can get rid of the fraction first, then get rid of the t, or you can get rid of the t and then get rid of the fraction. But what I'm going to do here is get rid of the fraction, because by getting rid of the fraction first, it eliminates the possibility of having a mistake. So I'm going to multiply everything by 5. 5 on both sides, just so I can get rid of this fraction and be done with it. So then we're left with t times d equals, and then this one you don't have to distribute this 5. I would just leave it there. You can put it as 5f plus 5h, but this kind of just is more, it's easier and quicker. And then we're trying to get d by itself, where it's being multiplied by t, so let's divide by t. That crosses out, right, and we divide by t. Then we are left with our equation of f plus h times 5 over t. All right, number 8 is our final problem. For this one is a little tricky. They want us to solve for a. But we see here a is on both sides right now, so let's get a, or terms with a, on its own side. So by that, I'm going to add dA to both sides. That leaves our f squared by itself, but our NA plus dA. Now, this is where we want to get a by itself. Well, we can take a out of these right now. We could take a, move these out, basically. You'll see where you have a n plus d. And that's where you can see if you distributed this, a times n, na, a times d, plus dA, and you're back to where you were. So that's kind of that cool trick that you can do there, is take out an a. So you're left with this equals f squared. Now you see we have an a times something, right? So let's divide it by that something, which that something is the n plus d. So you could write it exactly like this, or you could have it, your equation look without parentheses. As long as the n plus d are together and there's nothing near it, you're fine. That should be how it is. But all right, that is all I have for activity number 2. Again, tomorrow or next week, we will be doing a review for your test. And I will also be sending out a video for that as well. All right, hope you guys have a nice weekend.